Hey, good morning, everybody. Hey, good morning. We are going to be building another tractor trailer. I know I've been teasing these. This is a full size. It's the 1/25th scale, not the smaller one. And it's an AMT kit, so we have to build the frame, not like the Revell kits. So I've had this here since last Christmas, and it's getting time to build it. It's the white Western Star truck tractor. And I like these because my uncle had one of these back in the 70s, and I guess 80s, early 80s. I don't know what year it was, but he had a white. Now, I think his was a dump truck because he had a whole bunch of equipment. But I remember the white was just like his favorite. He used to drive it all the time. So this is a white Western Star tractor trailer, and it is part of their Coca-Cola line. Now, I understand why they do Coca-Cola. We have so much Coca-Cola models because people who collect Coca-Cola stuff are going to buy these, even if they don't build them. But not everything has to be Coca-Cola. I don't know if I'll do Coca-Cola on here yet. I haven't even decided what color. I do know it's got a Cummins NTD 350 6-cylinder turbocharged diesel engine. That will be painted beige because I looked up and that's what colors those are. The frame's going to probably just be black. This has the Kelsey Hayes rear wheels. These wheels are the ones that you'll see in a minute. They look like the ones that are on all the Mack trucks back from the 70s. And I love those things. They're not chrome. It does say it's got chrome. It does have the chrome front wheels. Not sure if I'll leave them chrome yet. Whoops. Let's see how many parts we got here. 250 parts. It's got the Holland sliding fifth wheel, tandem rear suspension, Mercury sleeper, which is the small one. Optional Frigid King air conditioning on the roof. We'll probably put that on there. And it's a nice short truck. It's not the long back. It's got the sleeper in there. So that's pretty cool. Now, we're going to take a quick look before we do anything. Usually these are the last things, but today we're going to do it first. So we do have the sheet that comes with it. And I don't know if we're going to use the Coca-Cola stuff, but we will definitely be using a lot of this stuff over here for it. A lot of the decals here. And then maybe we'll paint it red or white. Maybe we won't. It's got 10 tires here. They're the rubber hollow. And I don't see markings on them. Do they have markings? No, they don't have BF Goodrich or anything. So they're just unmarked. So there's 10 of those right there. Oops. So we can put those over there. We have clear one-piece glass cab. So if I had to, I'd have to saw the windows open, which I'm not going to do on this one. We'll just keep the windows closed. We have 2 metal axles. I keep them in a bag so they don't get lost. We have red and we have yellow, amber, clear. We have the clear glass for the sleeper. And 1, 2, 3, 4 headlights there. Then these 2 lights and another light. So I guess these are your marker lights, headlight lights, and I don't know what this one is. Not yet. We haven't seen it yet. So how are we going to know? Okay. Next, we've got the cab, one piece. So doors do not open. We have the hood and fenders, one piece. So, which is nice because now we don't have to worry whether we have both fenders or not. So that's going to fit like that. It's got a nice old school look to it. I like this truck. And then we have the interior basin that goes there. The sleeper we're going to have to build. So now let's look at what else we got here. Chrome pieces. Front wheels. Front bumper. The radiator, some steps, small I guess it's oil. Is that oil? Tell me. I don't know what these are. I've never driven a tractor trailer, so I don't know if this is the oil or not. But, and then of course mirrors, chrome mirrors. And then here's all the roof accessories. We've got the turbo right here, air that goes there. And then we have all, this is for the air conditioning unit. I'll bet you that's the grill for that. And the rest of this stuff is just stuff that fits on the roof. Lights and air horns. All right, moving on. We've got, I believe that is the rear or front suspension, drive shafts. Now, I got caught last time. I did another AMT truck, and I followed the part numbers that were on the directions, not on the back of the box. And I believe you have to follow them because they're going to be numbered differently on the back of the box than they are on the directions. But anyway, there's your valve cover because it's a 6. Here are your fuel tanks, battery box, batteries. Let's see. We've got mud flaps there, and we've got our transmission right there. Frame, air, I guess, air canisters there, and some other parts for the truck. As far as radiator right there. We have the sleeper, all one piece here, a sleeper. It has some kind of cool design on it right there. Never seen that on a real one, but I don't know. My uncles didn't have sleepers. Okay, here is the big air hose that goes in for the blower, and some other pieces of the frame. So let's see, we've got the dashboard right there, and unfortunately, here I just want to look real quick. I do not see the dashboard. Nope, there's no decals for a dashboard on here, so we're gonna have to paint that dash. Here are the coolest wheels, I think, on any truck. I don't see them much anymore, but these always were on Mack trucks. And Mack truck used to be built in Allentown, PA, near where I grew up. So, always loved these. They just look so, strong, to me. We're not going to paint these chrome. We're going to paint those, body color or something. Not sure yet. But this is going to be a work truck, guys. This is not going to be a show truck. We got our fifth wheel right here. We've got the rear axles right there, rear suspension right there. Let's see, steering wheel, front axle, cross beam there. Not sure what that is yet, but we'll figure it out. A whole bunch of other things I'm not sure of yet. And then, of course, we have the Cummins 6-cylinder turbo diesel. This we will paint. I just looked up the colors for these. I have a color chart. I should actually do a video on the different colors of the different engines from manufacturers. However, this being a Cummins 6 that it is, at least the engine block with the heads and all, that's going to be beige. And then we may detail the other colors as well. Or I might just build the whole engine and then just spray paint it beige. Because, like I said, it's a work truck, not a show truck. And then it's got the driver's seat here. And then the bigger passenger bench that could fit 2 people maybe on a good day. But not guys my size. So it's basically seats 2. Unless you have, like my uncle who had a couple nephews ride with him. Or 6 nephews back in the 70s without seat belts. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start putting together some of the sub-assemblies, and I will come back when I have some of the sub-assemblies put together. And usually these trucks, I've done, the last one I built had 5 videos. We're not going to do 5 videos. We're going to do a full build on this one, but we're going to do sub-assemblies, paint, put most of it together. And then, so this is going to be no more than an hour. And I just want you guys to see, you're not going to see me put every piece together, but you will see the truck come together. All right, guys, thanks for watching. And when we come back, I will have sub-assemblies. This, so I do want to show you this, guys. On the other one, on that Peterbilt cab over we did, the back of the box had all the part numbers. This does not. So I'm hoping because of that we can just follow the correct numbers that are in the direction sheet, because if not, we may not make this correctly. But anyway, this is a round 2 model of the AMT. I don't know if the other one was just AMT, but this is a round 2 model of the AMT kit reissue. So we'll just look at here if we need to, but we'll look in the directions if we need and follow the directions. All right, guys, so here is the engine completed. It took about 30-35 minutes to build it. As you can see on the directions, there's no part numbers, but it didn't seem to be that big of a deal. I just use a highlighter and I cross out everything as I'm putting it together, so that way I know what I have available and what I don't. So anyway, there you go. That one's done and done. All right, next one we're going to put together is we will put together the sleeper. All right, so here's the thing. We put the engine together right there, okay? Now I got to put the sleeper together. So now's actually the time we got to figure out what color. Are we going with all red? Are we doing something different? Because I got to paint the sleeper before we put it together, because it's got windows in it. Now we can repaint it later after I block the windows off, but it's a lot easier to paint it now and then glue it together, and then we can also paint the cab at the same time. So let's think. Do we want to do this as an old Coca-Cola truck and maybe do some weathering to it? I'm thinking, yeah, why not? We can do this as an old Coca-Cola truck and do some weathering to it. That'll be fun. Because we have a couple other tractor trailers that we can do. We have another Coca-Cola one that's a Kenworth. So let's do this. This is an old white Western Star. So we'll do this one as an older tractor trailer, or an older semi-tractor that has some weathering. So we'll paint this red. We're going to paint the cab red. And while we're at it, we might as well paint the engine beige, because that's what that is. And so we'll do that now, and then we'll come back. We'll keep putting stuff together. We do have to do the frame yet. I think the frame is going to be black, so we may just do it technically just like it looks like on the box there. Maybe. side, Daisy. Hey guys, so I think what I'm going to do with this, I've really decided. I went online, looked at a bunch of pictures and photos, because I think this is a 1974 white Western Star, if I'm right. Now, you guys are truckers out there might know, I don't know. But I'm going to make one that is like an old Coca-Cola truck. So it's going to be beat up. It's going to have no chrome is going to be left on it. The bumper is going to be bent. There's going to be a lot of dirt and dust and stuff on there. The paint's going to get faded and it's going to be a couple tones of red. So anyway, this will be my first really weathered tractor trailer I have done probably since the 1980s. I haven't done a weathered vehicle for anywhere on my channel yet. So this will be the first one. It should be fun. All right, guys. So I'm going to be painting some of the chrome. I'm going to make mismatched wheels. And one of the things I'm going to do here is the cab. And what I'm going to do is use different colored reds, going from that bright red all the way down to this cranberry. I think I have a gloss. I think I have a flat as well, but a cranberry there, and just making it lighter and lighter and lighter, so that way it looks like the paint is just dying. And then we're just going to paint it matte on top of that, so it's not even gloss. Alright, so with this, I had sprayed the bright red, then a maroon, then cranberry, then a light tan, and then primer gray, and then a little black overspray, and let it just fall on there. And it makes it look, see, the sides are still red, but the sun hit the top. And kind of did the same kind of stuff for the wheels and everything, which you'll see. The wheels, the sleeper, and everything else, you'll get to see that when I bring everything inside after it's dry. Guys, let me turn this light on real fast. All right, so as you can see, we got some pretty cruddy wheels. That one's a different color than the rest of them. We got some up here. We've got the front ones where they're almost just disgustingly muddy, dirty, due to how we painted them. And so now we're going to put them in the tires. All right, everybody, we're about 2 hours into this. And like I said, you can see we have the paint on the trucks, so it makes it look like it's old and dirty. We've got the paint on the wheels, old and dirty. Here's our engine, motor. So it's the right color. We just have to do some details on the belts and the filters. I went and looked up the colors on that, and the colors on that are correct. There's not a lot of different colors on it. Everything's just sprayed the same. And then we have the sleeper, which right now is drying, and we'll have to detail that a little bit more. I don't have the top glued in because I need to put the windows in yet. So I just have it laying on top there. Front tires here. These are the, I believe these, nope, these are the rims for back there. So these are the rings that are going to go in these two, and then there's 2 more rings for here that are drying. So, and there's our bumper. It's kind of beat up. We'll beat that up a little bit with a hot glue gun, put some dents in it. And that's about it for the moment. So we'll probably not work on the frame tonight. Like I said, we've only been working on this a couple hours. And we have the frame to build and the suspension, which will all go together in one piece. And the interior, that's it. While the rest of this dries, you can see what I did was I painted different layers of different colors of reds, and then a gray and a black on here, and of course the white underneath And then I took this, I think it's 400. No, maybe it's 100, maybe 150. Anyway, you take sandpaper, doesn't matter really which kind, and then you sand through the paint. Did the same thing here on the hood. Now, of course, there's not going to be rust on this hood because that hood is fiberglass. These trucks have fiberglass hoods. But if you see here, before I sanded it, I took some silver paint. It was just craft paint, and silvered all the edges, so then when I sand it, you can see like it shows like the metals coming through. So you have the whites, the primer, and then you have different color primers and different paints. So this definitely looks like an old truck. So that's where we're at for the moment. All right, guys, we're going to take this bumper, the front bumper, and I'm going to show you an easy way to put small dents in models. So a lot of times people use heat like candles or whatever. They're going to be way too hot. Easiest thing is plug in, take one of these hot glue guns, right? And like I'm just going to use this Ford body that I have that's a spare Ford body here. And all you do is just place the nozzle against it and push it in for a little bit. Pull it back out, push it in for a little bit. Just keep the heat on it. The thing is that you're going to get small dents. Like if you can see right there, there's just a small dent. That is a huge dent in a real car, but you can see you could put some small dents right there. So it's like if a car hits now, you know, if you're going to do a much more, you can keep it there as long as you need to, and you can put bigger dents in, but it does take a while. And that's the good thing with this, is you're not going to accidentally sit here and touch it and like bend the whole fender. So we put some dents in here. Easiest way to do that. Same with a bumper. Truck bumpers are going to have a lot of dents. So we're going to be able to just sit here and put some dents in this bumper. Beat the bumper up a little bit. You can see some of the dents in there now. Because that's what a tractor trailer bumper is going to have, is some small, they're going to have a lot of small dents. You can see all the dents right now. And so you can do a dent, you can run it long ways if you want, and do it that way. So you'll see some of the dents and some of the tear-ups on this bumper. The other nice thing with the hot glue is you can actually add hot glue to it, and it kind of gives it some texture as well if you're trying to do that. So just a quick, easy way. Use a hot glue gun. It's very safe, and you're not going to burn yourself. And you don't, as long as you're not squeezing it, then you can sit here and you can put dents all over this bumper and beat this bumper up. If you want to put one down the bottom, so like it got stepped on or whatever, or got bent by something falling on it, whatever. So we could beat that up a little bit. Now, remember, on these tractor trailers, the only metal part on a lot of these tractors is the cab. Okay, this is going to be metal, but the whole hood is fiberglass. So while I used sandpaper, you know, to sit here and wear down through all the different colors of paint. Remember, I said I used 5 different colors of red, plus a gray primer, plus a black spray primer, and then the white, which is the basic of the plastic. So by bringing that down, you're only going to get down to fiberglass on a hood. You're not going to see rust. We're going to put some rust onto the cab. Now, sleepers, some sleepers are metal, some sleepers were fiberglass, and it just depends on, you know, which one. I believe this is a fiberglass sleeper. I'll look that up to see what came with the Western Star. So, and then of course our tires, we're not done them yet, but as you can see, we've got a red one there. We've got a red one there with a little bit of gray worn. This one is a little bit of metal and red. And then I believe this one is, well, actually one of them, I think this one we're going to end up painting green just to be a different color. than the rest, because a lot of times in these old trucks, they've taken the wheel off of something else that was painted a different color. So we'll probably put that hunter green in here, and that will be this one. So that's all I'm doing is right now we're just beating this up a little bit. Blush. And also we painted the engine. This is as much as this thing's going to get painted. These aren't real colorful engines, the ones that were workhorses. The transmission could be black. Part of the transfer case is black. Part of the shift is black. The rest is silver. And then that's about as much paint as this thing's going to get. So the engine is done. Next, we got to build the frame. So the frame is done next. But, you know, always try different things. And I said the glue guns, you don't have to use them just for glue. You can use them to beat up a bumper and make it look pretty old. And that's what we're doing. All right. We'll see you in a little bit when we have more when we have the frame done and everything else, or when we're building the frame, I'll come back to you. All right, guys, so if you see this, check it out. I put the blue tape where the windshield wipers would go, and then over here I put some blue tape on this side of it, so that way it looks like this would be a pretty dirty window that somebody may just clean with their hands. This one over here, somebody cleaned the whole window, and the back window we may we'll just put this here to make it look like somebody attempted to clean a little bit of it. And now we're going to go out and spray this with matte clear. We also put the decals on here, and we used decal set, because if you don't use decal set, then the decals won't stick, because we've roughed it up with sandpaper. So then what we're going to do is, once that dries, we'll spray this with a clear coat of matte, a couple clear coats of matte on here. Then we will take our, the really fine, where's my fine here, 400 grit, and we're gonna sand over the 400 grit and kind of sand off some of the decals, because you're not gonna have perfect paint on this beat up paint job. So we'll do that, and it'll look like the decal kind of wore out. So you don't want to use the thick, 220. You want to use like a 400 or a 200 at the most, just to get a little bit off. And I'll show you how that happens when we're ready to do that. So Testers does have a color called rust, which this is. And I use an old brush and basically just put it on the seams below the windows where rust would form, below the seam of the roof, on spots of the roof. So maybe up here on the cowl a little bit where now it's a silver. You want to do this before you put your plastic in. So, and that's why I see, like, we have rust that's gonna go over top of the painted thing there, and then some rust in the seams there and down. So we're just gonna put some rust on here, just dry brush it on, especially where there's no paint, or maybe where it would just sit and puddle. So that's how you do dry brush and rust.
Just like the street lights lit this town. side. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we're gonna let it rain. Tonight, we're gonna let it rain. Tonight, we're gonna let it rain. Just like the sunrise, we're gonna let it rain. Just like a spark that's breaking out. Can't make a stop, can't turn back now. You know that there's no room for doubt. No, we can't turn back now. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we're gonna let it rain. Tonight, we're gonna let it rain. Tonight, we're gonna let it rain. Just like the sunrise, we're gonna let it rain.
All right, guys, and what we usually do is Mod Podge for all the windows, plastic windows, like we always do, because it dries completely clear. And so we're just gonna put some Mod Podge on the inside here and in the sleeper. And now that we have it painted on the outside, we won't be doing some detail painting, but we're not going to be doing any more spray painting. So just stick that one in there. Stick this one in there. There we go. And with Mod Podge, you don't have to worry about if you get some of the glue on the plastic. It will dry perfectly clear, usually in about 15 minutes. So, and if you could see in here, so this is our cab, which is just, I think it's perfect now. We've got the hood, which is perfect, the sleeper. Now we can close it. We got our bumper, which is nice and grungy. So the engine, which we did a little dry black paint to highlight all the parts. So that's done. The wheel, now that's this one here, which is the green one, along with all the red ones. So, all right, I'm gonna build the frame and we'll be back when the frame's done. All right, I put on the lights and the air horns. And then there's a piece that has to go around the bottom. It's a cab extension. So we just painted those. We'll bring them in a minute. All right, just reminding you, with AMT kits, Revell kits, they come with their frame done and put together. The AMT kits don't, which is why it's really nice to have a metal square as well as one of these boards to work on, because You really need to make sure that this frame is square from the first moment and that all the cross members are square. Because if you don't, you're not going to realize it until after everything's dry and you're trying to put the truck together and stuff doesn't fit. So I'm going to go ahead and build my frame using here, because you can line them up on each thing here, and then you see the cross. That's what you need to do. If you don't do that, so that's why if you never built a truck kit before, I would suggest you start with a Revell kit. A Revell kit comes with the frame done, and I'm going to build a Revell Kenworth kit down the road here in a little while. But right now, AMT kits, you have to build the frame. So just letting you know. All right, everybody. So it is the next morning, and I'll show you some of the stuff that we have done. But like I said, I let these frames, and now this frame is perfectly straight. It is perfectly straight. I'm hoping. Anyway, perfectly straight. And we have the fuel tanks painted. We have the battery box built. We have the engine built. We have the hood painted and for the most part put together. We have the cab, the interior. The cab has been painted, and we do have the mirrors waiting to go on. We have to build those. The sleeper is done with windows. All the wheel sets are done. And we did put the axles and two of the dual wheels in the back. So that is complete. So next is we can start putting together, now that we have the frame, we can start putting the suspension on the frame. So I will go ahead and start putting the suspension on the frame, as well as some of the other things that have to go on here, like the air tanks and other stuff that's here. So we'll go ahead and put that together on the frame, and then I'll be back. All right, guys, I just want to kind of show you a little bit. One of the directions here, number one, this thing there's no part numbers in this whole kit. So as you can see, there's steps to do, but there's no part numbers. So they tell you to do steps in order. But when you're putting the frame together, which is in part 3, step 3, you really have to jump to step 6, because before you put the shocks on, because it doesn't really tell you what holes to put the shocks in. So you want to make sure that you're putting them in the correct holes, because when you get to step 6, your steering box and stuff go in the holes that you probably think the front suspension goes in, the shocks go in. So you want to just be real careful when you're putting this together. Read through the whole directions, look at things, especially for the 4 shocks, see how they sit. If you've never built one of these, I think once you build it, you're going to be, oh, okay, I know where this goes, I know where that goes. But this is a conventional, this isn't the cab over. The cab over AMT kit that we built, the 356, Peterbilt, that one had numbers and you could see a lot more detail. This does not. So just be very careful with it. Like I said, this probably should not be your first kit. I've built hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kits. And this is the first one I've ever had that has absolutely no part numbers for 250 parts. So anyway, and I also suggest building the whole frame and then painting the frame as a whole, because if you don't, there's a lot of weak points when you're gluing to painted material, but that's up to you. Anyway, I'm going to continue working on the suspension. All right, I want to point this out. So in step 6, it shows you have to put these axle pieces together, 3-piece. Now I glue them all together. You don't have to if you want the front wheels to turn, but I don't want them to turn. And the way they fit is you have a pin that goes inside this coupling, and then there's a cap that goes on the coupling. So you can kind of see that right there. The red thing is the cap. And then you're going to probably have to sand the end of the front axle because it has to sit in here flush. So just make sure you do this and you sand that little nub that's on the end of the axle, but you don't want to sand it off, but you want to sand it flat. So that way, and just the way it's molded, there's a mold line that goes right down the center of it. So you want to make sure that that is sanded so that this sits actually flat all the way around, just like that. All right, just wanted to show you that detail because it's something that you really need to pay attention to. All right, so we just got done the whole front axle area, which was step 6. And pretty easy to do as long as you're very watch the directions very closely, and make sure everything's sanded. If you have to, make sure the pins are flat when you put them together. Now we're going to let this dry, and then we'll go backwards to step 5, and we'll do the back suspension and axles. All right, guys, so here is our frame. We've got our metal axles in there. I've covered the front axles because they're plastic with tape, so that way it won't interfere with the glue. And now we're just going to get the full frame painted. All right, guys, I painted a sage green Rust-Oleum paint and primer combination over top the black primer, and so you can see it really has an industrial look to it. So we'll let this dry here, and then we'll come back with all the different, with the interior, with the body, and with the frame, and with the engine, the 4 main parts. So sub-assemblies, the 4 main sub-assemblies.
Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways. And on we'll turn us to thousands, and we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands, and on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways. And on we'll go.
All right, guys. I do not have the engine in it yet. I always put the engine in after I put the body on and make sure the hood fits and everything. So right now we got the tires, we've got the body. especially because of the way that, you know, it's got a sleeper. So the way everything sits, we're going to let this stay here until tomorrow. And then everything should be dry. And then we'll put the engine in. We'll put the mirrors on. And we'll finish the truck. But I'm going to let this sit for about 15 hours. Alright guys, good morning. It's day 3. It's about 7 o'clock on a Friday. So if you're seeing this, it's Friday. And I'm hoping to get this up edited this afternoon for you guys to see tonight. But if not, it'll be definitely here Saturday morning. So we got our AMT white Western Star truck tractor. And this is the one that's coming kind of like, I may even put it in a diorama with some grass around it and everything. But right now, we've got the truck, we've got the engine in it, we've got the cab on the frame, test fitted the hood, which I kind of like because it actually will fit on there. With the bumper's not on there right now, but it actually sat all night long. Very, you know what? It probably because I had one of the magic fingers holding it up. But so we have the hood. Now we have the wheels and everything on. One of the things I'm going to use is this black acrylic. It's paint, but it's a really thick paint. And I'm going to put that all over the fifth wheel. Because if you ever see any of these trucks, they're full of grease on the fifth wheel. And when that dries, it will actually dry lumpy, so it'll look like grease that's on there. All right, so we have to put on today, we have to put the exhaust system in, which has the pipe that comes up here. We still have to put on the tanks, some of the stuff around the outside. We have to build the mirrors to put on. So we've got some things to do here. So let me turn this sideways and hope. There we go. Looks like this is still loose. I probably have to, you know what? I don't even think I glued that. I think I just glued the front thing in there. All right, so we got the engine in there. We'll have to put the drive shaft in. All right, guys, so as you can see, I didn't have the sleeper. For some reason, the sleeper was not, I didn't glue it. Just forgot. So what I use is the Mod Podge, because that glue, which is the white stuff you see there, that glue will dry clear. And then I'm using clamps. Now these clamps here you can get over at Northern Tool or any of the Chinese tool places. And they're only like $2 or $3. They're great for this because they can push the sleeper down onto the frame to make sure you got a good connection there. Also, if we look, and I'll use a pointer here, the exhaust pipe comes through the frame, underneath the truck near the transmission, and then it comes up, and then it goes into the single exhaust here, which I have held up by one of the magic fingers. Let me take the hood away. So again, these magic fingers that you see that I use all the time, they're like $3 or $4 over there. You can get them you could pay $10 for them at Hobby World or Hobby Center or whatever, Hobby Lobby, but you can go over to Northern Tool or one of the Chinese tool places and get them for like $3. So next we have this one here, which is the tank, which is sitting on the tank rails that I glued on prior to painting painting the frame, because you really need, they're easier to put on the tanks onto the rails that are there, the little half round rails, than it is to put the rails and the tank into the holes after it's painted, because they for some reason just never ever glue right. So and right here I think you can see, but if you can't, we'll point out later, I did put like a teal colored mismatched piece of metal that would be under the door for the rocker panel there, as if it was replaced from a different truck. So we're going to let this sit for a bit. We are ready to put in the drive shaft, but because I got to do this other stuff, I'm not putting the drive shaft in yet. We do have to put the axle things, and I'll put those in now. on each end of the axle for this side, and then we'll, with the mismatched green wheel there. So we're getting there. I'll be back. All right, everybody. So the best thing about Mod Podge is, see how you see it's white right now? So I'm going to walk away from it. It'll take about 30 to 45 minutes to dry, and the way you know it's dry is it's perfectly clear. So we're just going to let that. We'll come back when it's perfectly clear, and that should tell us that this tank, it should tell me that the stack and the exhaust are all the same. They're all should be solid at least enough by that point, even though we use tube glue, the tube testers for that stuff. But by the time this dries, these will all be dry enough to flip the truck over and put the other tanks on and glue the other side of the sleeper. And then we'll put the bumper on the front here. We got bumper, we've got the radiator and some front end stuff to do here. And we'll keep working on it. So I'll see you once all this is clear and once all this is dry, and then we can put the drive shaft in after that. All right, guys, as you can see, this has now dried perfectly clear. So that should mean that all the glue that we glued about 3 hours ago should be dry, and we should be able to remove these magic fingers, which looks like the tank is pretty solid. These magic fingers, which looks like the stack is solid. And let me unscrew the wood, and then I can just, now I'll just unscrew it. It's easier. And the wood clamp, take that off. Okay. There we go. All right. So we still have to put the bumper on here. But now we have to do the other side. So we'll turn this over. Put this way. And go ahead and put this on here, right there. Oh, yep, goes like that. Okay, I'll put this on. We'll paint this area dark red using our craft paint. We'll put the caps on the tires here. Make sure these tires are where they're supposed to be. I don't glue the tires on too well because it really messes, the rubber messes with everything anyway. We can put the drive shaft in, and then once that's done, we can put the bumper and some other stuff in. Let's get this done. All right, so we have the bumper on. Finishing up the exhaust over there. We have to put the pipes in that go down and lead to the exhaust, as well as the coolant system. So we'll do that next. All right, everybody, we're getting close. So we just put on some of the decals that I wanted to put on, the license plate decals and stuff. We put the lenses on. Waiting to put on our mud flaps, which are drying. So I want to get them dry, then they're going to go on here. We had to paint for the license plate tail lights right there. And we have to put the mirrors on. So I'm going to get all that done. When that's all done, we should be completely done with this model. Alright, we're gonna glue using these magic fingers the base of each of these mirrors. And the tips of each of the mud flaps, and they will just sit here. This one. And then we'll just let these sit here for about an hour or 2 or 3. And that is how we will put all these on. So there we go. All right, we've got the tail lights, license plate, and reverse light on now. And we've got the decals on. We've got our mirrors done. So I think this is done. We got the mud flaps on there. They dried overnight. So, and the hood comes off. We got our engine. Got everything underneath the engine there. We got turn signals now on the truck. Okay. All right, guys, here is our finished AMT white Western Star 1/25th scale, very, very weathered tractor, truck tractor. So let's take some looks at some details we put on here. So a couple of things. One, we have obviously we've used a lot of craft paints, such as these that you can get at Walmart for hardly anything, to put on the rust and the dirt. The black on here is, I don't know where you live, but in Florida, a lot of stuff gets this, like, it's almost like a black moss. It's not moss, but it's like a black plant, organic stuff that just covers everything that sits for a while, if it sits for a long time. So we have the offset sleeper, as if the support rusted through and it popped down. We've got the all the rust on here. We've got the different color paints. We've got this blue panel here, which matches the blue piece here. So they came from a donor truck, obviously. And then we have the old white framed windows, which were a big thing in the 60s and early 70s. So they were off a donor truck as well. If we look at the back here, we've got some rust in here, but this has a lot of grease on it. We then have tail lights. We've got our license plate here. We have our off-colored replacement wheel there that came off a truck that was green. We don't have any chains or anything hanging off of this, the utility post that's back there, which could have chains on it or whatever. We've got our road inspections stickers here, or road permits here. We've got the Western Star logo that's, been coming off, or the paint is just peeled off. And of course on the front, we've got a couple license plates that are still attached. We have our for sale sign, and showed you how to use the clear matte spray to show where like windshield wipers were. But we did put, if we got close on here, you would see that there's some of the black stuff that has gotten the mold on, has gotten onto the glass. Inside we have a pretty nice standard boot colored interior, but it's hard to see because of all the stuff that's going on. Now let's take the hood off, and inside the hood we've got an engine that's sitting there. Obviously it's not going to be too dirty because this was parked. So once it's parked, you still have your filters and all, and it's got a little bit of dust and dirt on it, but since it wasn't parked with the hood open, you just got yourself an old 6-cylinder engine in there that's painted the original beige color. And so that's what's sitting in there. We got our steering column there into the steering box. Everything in here is just very, very industrial, because this was never a show truck. This was never a high-end truck. This was probably just a truck for some company that just did a lot of hauling. And then after it hit so many miles, it was parked probably in a field or in the back of a parking lot somewhere. And so some of the stuff still looks okay. Your lights are going to be fine because they're not, the last time this was parked, it was still inspected, so it was fine. But it's the sun's been baked on it. The mold has started growing on it. And so this is just a very, very nasty truck. It's been sitting so long that the floor, or the support for the sleeper, collapsed, and the whole sleeper just fell sideways. So that's pretty much the model. It came out the way I wanted. The only thing I did not do, and yes, you can point that out, is it's got new tires on it. But it's for sale, so the guy whoever's selling it, they got new tires, they got a new fifth wheel, they mounted some new mud flaps on it. But other than that, it's just the same truck that's been sitting in the back of the yard probably for a long time, or in the back of somebody's house, just sitting in the grass. And finally it was time to get rid of it. A perfect model for Junkyards and Bran Finds. We even are missing on here, it says 16 there. It's truck number 16. Here it only has the 6 because the 1 has just worn itself off. So there you go, guys. This is our heavily weathered. And I show you all the different ways to weather this thing. This is our heavily weathered truck. White. Western. It's a white Western Star. The white Western Star. So also took some photographs that you saw at the beginning of the truck, and that gave you an idea of what it was going to look like when it was done. So showing you that how it's realistic. We should put it up on Facebook just to see if anybody bites, because it does look pretty realistic. All right, guys, thank you for watching, and I don't know what the next one will be. I don't know our next model. Maybe Chevelle, maybe tow truck, might be the Kenworth. I'm not really sure, but stay tuned. Thanks for watching, and we will now be coming out in various languages. We just got told by YouTube that we now have a language available that people can watch. So in German and Spanish and all kinds of different languages. All right, guys, have a great day. Thank you.